Star-Spangled Banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
Let us pray. Eternal God, in whom we live and move and have our being, with joyful hearts, we celebrate this momentous occasion, for we recognize that when these students don their white coats, much more is happening than the putting on of a new garment. We recognize that through this physical sign and symbol, they are donning a new identity, a new public face, a new office. Today we observe a transition from student to caregiver as these continue in their journey to become doctors. Therefore, O Lord, we pray that you would grant them your grace, that they may provide a healing touch and compassionate presence to all those whose lives they will encounter. May they and may we be your servants now and always. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lisa Moores, Dean of Students here at America's Medical School, and I welcome you today to our annual White Coat Ceremony, which has been part of the Uniformed Services University culture for nearly 20 years. As we get started, I'd like to recognize several individuals who are present today in support of our students and the university. To begin, Dr. Charles Rice, President, Uniformed Services University. Dr. Arthur Kellerman, Dean, School of Medicine. Colonel Gavin Glass, Brigade Commander. Lieutenant Colonel Bree Teneza, Commandant of Students. Lieutenant Commander Pratik Ray, Brigade Chaplain. And our guest speaker, our very own Commander Dr. Adam Saperstein from the Department of Family Medicine. I would also like to recognize some very distinguished guests who have joined us today. Vice Admiral Sean Pybus is currently the Deputy Commander of the United States Special Operations Command at MacDill Air Force Base, Florida. A career Navy SEAL, he has previously served as Commander of the Special Operations Command Pacific at Camp H.M. Smith in Hawaii, Commander of Naval Special Warfare Command in Coronado, California, and Commander of NATO Special Operations Forces Headquarters in Belgium. His son, Ensign Alex Pybus, will be donning his white coat today. Dr. Karen Midtun is the Director of the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research at the Food and Drug Administration. Before joining the FDA in 1993, Dr. Midtun was on the faculty of the Department of International Health at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, where she was involved in the clinical development of investigational vaccines and was an attending physician at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Dr. Midtun's son, Second Lieutenant Robert Brooks, will be donning his white coat today. Major General Leroy Goff, U.S. Army retired, previously served as the Deputy Commanding General, 3rd Corps out of Fort Hood, Texas. A graduate of West Point, he served in Vietnam as a platoon leader with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. In Operation Desert Storm, then Colonel Goff commanded the 3rd Brigade, 3rd Armored Division. His godson, Ensign Mark Hardman, will be donning his white coat today. And finally, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Fred Pugh, the Assistant Dean for Academic Counseling at West Point. He acts as an advisor to the pre-medical students and applicants from the Academy and has been a strong supporter of the USU community for many years. Among the class of 2018 are 12 students who graduated from West Point last May and others who have graduated in previous years. I would like to give all of our distinguished guests a round of applause. The White Coat Ceremony is a seminal moment in the process of professional formation for medical students, not only at USUS, but across our entire nation. This ceremony was nationally developed by Dr. Arnold P. Gold and the Arnold P. Gold Foundation for Humanism in Medicine, where the accent and theme are intended to emphasize the importance of the very human and professional relationship between patients and physicians. The Gold Foundation provides our students with a gold pin for humanism in medicine, and we ask them to wear it proudly on their white coats throughout medical school and beyond. It will be awarded to our students today. In the practice of medicine, we are always running a fast pace to keep up with the science of medicine, and this is, for certain, a major responsibility. At the same moment, entering into a full human understanding of the patient is also a critical ingredient of medical practice. Physicians must always reflect on how they are viewed by patients and simultaneously put themselves into the position of the patient to complete full understanding. So we would like now to share the words of Dr. Francis Weld Peabody, ones he used as he addressed the medical students at Harvard University in the early 20th century. Dr. Peabody's comments represent a striking core value of humanism in medicine. And these remarks will be read by your Vice President and classmate, Second Lieutenant Nancy Gilchrist.
The good physician knows his patients through and through, and his knowledge is bought dearly. Time, sympathy, and understanding must be lavishly dispensed, but the reward is to be found in that personal bond which forms the greatest satisfaction of the practice of medicine. One of the essential qualities of the clinician is interest in humanity, for the secret of the care of the patient is in caring for the patient.
Thank you, Nancy. I would like to now invite those of you who do have a seat, please go ahead and use those. And it's my pleasure now to introduce our Dean, Dr. Art Kellerman, who will say a few words to our students. Sir?
Good morning. At least we don't have to worry about heat stroke today or the glare of the sun. I will be brief. Students, you've by now heard the expression many times about the art and the science of medicine. A great deal of your time, your energy, your studying, your work with one another has been to master the science of medicine, and that will certainly continue throughout your time with us. But today is dedicated to the other half of that equation, the art of medicine. The art of medicine means going beyond making the diagnosis to feeling. The art of medicine is about going beyond the technical aspects of treatment, surgery, procedures, tests, to caring for a patient. The art of medicine is about respecting, using, valuing. The art of medicine is about using and valuing the power of a smile, the power of touch, the power of a tear. That defines you as a physician and makes you more than a technician. With those, I'm back. With those words, I'd like now to invite the class members to pin the gold seal of humanism and medicine on the lapel of your white coats.
While the students finish pinning their humanism awards, I would like to introduce our guest speaker for the class of 2018 White Coat ceremony. As I mentioned, our own Dr. Adam Saperstein. Commander Saperstein is an assistant professor in family medicine here at USU. He's a 1996 graduate of the United States Naval Academy and a 2000 graduate of Tulane University Medical School. He completed a residency in family medicine at the Naval Hospital Bremerton, and he's also completed a faculty development fellowship at UNC Chapel Hill. He currently holds the positions of Director of Reflective Practice and the Interprofessional Task Force here at USU. He's been given the responsibility to integrate humanism courses across the curriculum within the School of Medicine and to collaborate with the Graduate School of Nursing to enhance interprofessional education. His curriculum challenges students to look at themselves and contemplate how to bridge the chasm separating the me from the other that so often interferes with patient care. Dr. Saperstein is a master at balancing the use of written and spoken word, social media, podcasts, and invited speakers to help students see themselves as valuable members of a profession with a code of ethics and a heart for all. Dr. Saperstein.
Joe Pisano strolled to the front of the lecture hall wearing a subtle smirk of self-satisfaction on his 5'6" frame as he looked out on the audience of 150 and began to introduce us to one another. As the Dean of Admissions at Tulane University, Dean Pisano performed this ritual once per year, calling out every member of the class, asking them to stand up, and highlighting what made them unique. He called out Timmel and told us that after Timmel's interview day, and well before he was accepted, he had sent Dean Pisano his national championship fast-pitch softball gold medal with a letter that said, "Sir, please keep this safe for me. I'll pick it up on the first day of school." He called out Kevin Doolins and announced that Kevin had left his job as a senior vice president of a Fortune 500 company with his high six-figure salary to pursue a career in medicine. And the shout-outs kept coming, each one seemingly more impressive than the last. Among this group, for me, one person stood out. Put simply, Andrew Marsh was memorable. He had a ponytail that went halfway down his back, a dangling topaz-laden earring in his left ear, and a pair of well-traveled Birkenstocks on his feet. But none of those things were the reason I took note of him on that muggy New Orleans day in August 1996. Rather, what caught my attention was the way he held himself and the way he spoke. Andrew Marsh was a man of purpose. In my 21-year-old naivete, I thought I knew all about purpose. My previous 4 years had been spent at the Naval Academy, where defining one's purpose both individually and in the context of the larger organization seemed to be a daily ritual. From day one, we were taught to be mission-focused, motivated, and dedicated, perpetually focused on meeting the next objective as a waypoint en route to a goal. This mindset was apparently so important that the Academy had a specially trained cadre to offer us helpful reminders. A group that came in the form of screaming upperclassmen, their faces so close to ours that the insults of their words were only outdone by the splatter of spittle on our cheeks. We dutifully digested and regurgitated what we learned, and I mistook that for purpose. Medical school quickly and unceremoniously disabused me of that notion. About a month after we started medical school, somewhere between the anatomic dissection of the thorax and the histologic analysis of the prostate was our white coat ceremony. We convened in the main conference hall at the hospital, where a smattering of parents, spouses, friends, and faculty mingled about prior to the event. After lining up alphabetically, we received our instructions. The dean would describe the historical significance of the white coat. Our guest speaker would share insights about her clinical experiences. And then the show would begin. Each of us would walk to the lectern, look into the audience, and utter the one adjective that we felt best represented the role of physician. Or, if that didn't strike our fancy, how we felt about ourselves as we embarked upon the path to becoming a physician. The fact that the assignment had two options would prove significant for at least one of us. Students quickly divided into two camps of thought. The first group simply thought the exercise ridiculous. How could one word answer the question being asked, and what was the point anyway? The second was more anxious. What word should I use? Isn't the right one? What will they think of me? I readily admit, with some embarrassment, that I fell into this second camp, only rescued by the aforementioned Kevin Doolins and a second classmate named Lorena Dumas. Both of them were in their 40s, wise through life experiences, and after taking one look at me on our first day of school, had appointed themselves, out of dire need I should add, my big brother and sister. They saw me from across the room, pulled me aside, and before they even said a word, I knew it was time to just let it go, pick a word, and move on. Our time arrived and we went on stage. Words you might anticipate hissed their way out of the low-quality speakers. Altruistic, compassionate, caring, dedicated, humble. We worked through last names and the A's through K's, and with about 60 students down and 90 to go, words started to be repeated. I mentioned that Andrew Marsh had purpose, but I didn't tell you that he also liked a good joke, especially when it exposed the absurdity of a situation. I remember seeing him walk to the lectern, a bit slower than the rest, take a breath, and say, "Sucker." He walked off the stage, received his white coat, and shortly thereafter was coolly received by representatives of the administration who escorted him to the back of the room while simultaneously engaging in a one-way conversation. I lost track of him as my fellow S's and I moved closer to the podium, but the room was abuzz. Andrew had made an impression. I caught up with him and some friends later that night in the French Quarter and asked what had happened. "Those idiots need a dictionary," he said. "And don't take too much offense to this, Adam, but so do you." I didn't say S-U-C-K-E-R, sucker. I said S-U-C-C-O-R, sucker. He was right. I did need a dictionary. When I looked it up, here's what I found. Succor, assistance and support in times of hardship and distress. He went on to share a bit more about his story. He was a member of the Cherokee Nation, and his people knew a thing or two about sacrifice, hardship, and that what gets one through difficult times is community and connection. He also knew that often what helps an individual make the right decision and take the compassionate action is one's humanity, high touch as opposed to high tech. He saw his role as a physician as one in which he could offer succor to those in need, and he felt it to the core of his being. It was and is a core component of his personal context. As you can tell, that moment has stuck with me over the years for both personal and professional reasons. I see many parallels between Andrew's sense of connection and responsibility to his community and ours as military medical officers. As Simon Oster has so astutely pointed out in the past, it is neither a military objective nor a common purpose that unites men and women in the military. This is not why one sacrifices up to and including giving one's life to save another's. Rather, interpersonal connection in the context of community is the tie that binds us. It is why we call each other brother and sister. The ties are that close. As military medical officers, we have the privilege of joining this community, and with that privilege comes a responsibility to this community. To fulfill that responsibility, we must engage with each other, and to do that, we have to be able to see the humanity of each person for whom we have the opportunity to care. We must learn to see them not as walking diseases, but as people who have injuries and/or disease, and who come to us for help. I do not intend to imply that every moment of every day will be a ray of sunshine, but I do know that every day you will have the opportunity to offer succor to others, to make a connection, to experience an intimacy with your fellow human being, and that is a gift beyond measure. In closing, and with the idea of remembering our humanity and that of our patients, I leave you with a quote and a request. The quote is from last year's graduation, when Dr. Leon Moores, USU class of 1990, reminded us of the importance of being attuned to our humanity. He said, "Remember, when you are seeing patients, it's not the brain tumor in bed 4. Her name is Daphne. She's 6, and she's scared, and so are her parents, and so is her brother." My request is simple. You will often be a human doing, running about the wards and clinic at breakneck speed. And that is important, but always, always remember to be a human being. I don't ask this as your faculty. I don't ask this as your colleague. No, it's much more personal than that. I ask this of you as your future patient. Thank you.
Adam, if you would just come up one more moment. The class of 2018 thanks you for your wonderful words. Stop crying. And really appreciate everything that you've added to the ceremony, and we have a nice little memento that we hope will remind you of today as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Guess I'm back too. All right, we will now begin donning coats by service. I would like to invite Dr. Kellerman to the podium.
And I would invite your family members to join you to help you don your white coats.
At this time, I'd like to invite the family members of the Army students who are participating in our ceremony to join their student.
Okay, Navy, Public Health Service, and MD PhD students, I think you've waited long enough. We've got this drill worked out. I would like to invite your parents, loved ones, and family members to join you and help you don your white coats.
So many people.
To the profession of medicine. And just and generous to its members. That I will lead my life. And practice my art. In uprightness and honor. That into whatsoever home I shall enter. It shall be for the good of the sick and the well. To the utmost of my power. And that I will hold myself aloof from wrong. And from corruption. And from the tempting of others to vice. That I will exercise my art. Solely for the cure of the patients. And the prevention of disease. And will give no drugs and perform no operation. For a criminal purpose. And far less suggest such a thing. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men. Which is not fitting to be spoken. I will keep secret. These I do promise. And in proportion as I am faithful to this oath. May happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite if I shall be forsworn. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Charles Rice, President of the Uniformed Services University. Sir?
Thank you very much, Colonel Morse. Well, colleagues, you look marvelous, and I'll bet those coats feel good on a day such as this. You probably had now the first opportunity to make the mass diagnosis of hypothermia. As you heard in the oath that you just repeated, you have undertaken a great responsibility, and I am confident that you will live up to that responsibility. I want you to wear the coat with pride in what you have accomplished so far, pride in your admission to this ancient and honorable profession. I also want you to wear the coats in humility. Humility for how much we don't know, how much you will have to learn through the rest of your career, and humility in the great responsibility that has been given to you. And I'm confident that you will do extremely well in your endeavors. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, this completes the formal portion of our ceremony. I ask you to remain in place for the departure of the official party and invite you to stay as long as you like to enjoy our beautiful campus. Thank you again for coming and sharing this wonderful occasion with the class of 2018.
Please be safe on your way home. Students, you are dismissed.